The Brewhouse was created to capture and share with you the long history of the Genesee Brewery, but the brewery itself isn't half as interesting as the beer and the people who make it. Visit GeneseeBrewhouse.com. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Nice to have Carl Falk back on the panel.
Thanks for having me.
Last show of the year.
Yeah. So, where'd that go? I mean, it's been a lot of quick years lately, right? Does that happen when you get older?
It gets speedier. Well,
Yeah.
you know. What are you asking me for?
Because you're older.
Yeah, but
I can't ask him.
Time is so slow. Oh, I'm going to be cool forever.
Pat, who are you wearing today?
Well, obviously, we need him next week. Ryan Fitzpatrick, now quarterback of the Miami Dolphins. I've said it before. I'll say it again. If I needed a man to win a game to save my life, a game that doesn't matter to him at all, Ryan Fitzpatrick. And I feel like there is a miracle coming. He's the best quarterback when it doesn't matter in the history of the NFL.
They do play New England the last week. Could have an impact.
I could see that pick happening. Late fourth quarter, driving, it's going to happen, and he's Fitz.
Could be his last game ever.
Who would be your guy?
No, he'll still make money. If
got
I
a lot
got
of ground
one
cover.
game to win ever, of all the history,
I got an upset pick. I want to hear what you
Roger
got.
Staubach.
That's an upset pick.
Yeah. I go back to the 70s. That's when I started watching the game. When he got the ball late, I never had a doubt he was going to come through.
Mine's Kenny Stabler.
Love Snake Stabler. He was another one. Late in games, who was better? Staubach.
Man, talk about a couple of times moving faster picks from you guys, huh?
Yeah.
Ever even heard of them? Google them. They're there.
Fitzpatrick is yours, the single guy.
If he knew that my life depended on it, no. But if he was blissfully unaware and it was just a game that he was playing in, 100% he is a guy. I mean, name another quarterback that out of nowhere can upset a serious team any given week. He's the best of all time.
Because he's never been favored in a game in his life.
I'll take
Did
it.
you know he went to Harvard?
I did hear that.
Yeah.
Didn't he play lacrosse? Wait, no, that was somebody else.
Hey, let's take a quick look at the playoff field as, we're heading towards the NFL playoffs. Baltimore's a prohibitive favorite. Do you see anyone in the AFC being able to contend with them?
Yeah, I think Kansas City's a very good team offensively. They don't run the ball, which concerns me. In the playoffs, you got to run the ball, stop the run. But the defense seems to be turning the corner. They got some pass rushers up front. Yeah, they've had some injuries, and they had a guy, they had Terrell Suggs. I don't know how much he's got left. But I like the way they play behind Mahomes. And I always like the guy who's nobody's talking about. Everyone's talking about Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Have you heard much about Patrick Mahomes? He's almost been as good this year as last year when he was the greatest quarterback that ever played the game, or so we were led to believe.
Yeah, and the defense is making a difference. You believe in the whole thing that defense wins championships?
I mean, yeah, I always thought that was the case. When we get towards the end of the season, it always seems to be that way, right? There are those teams, and it's the same in the NHL playoffs, those teams that you don't talk about in the middle of the year all of a sudden start playing grittier and boom. But to answer your initial question, there are 3 teams out of the AFC that can stop Baltimore. New England, Buffalo, and if Pittsburgh makes it in, Pittsburgh. The 2 losses that Baltimore has pulled down this season, right? It's divisional losses. There's something about when Baltimore sees a team again, can they continue to do what they did? I think because Buffalo's seen them, I think because New England's seen them, and I think, again, if Pittsburgh makes it in, because they've seen them, there are things you can do to stop Lamar Jackson that you weren't expecting the first time
That's
around.
nice company to put the Bills in.
Sure, but I mean, the Bills almost did it in the first place.
Yeah, it's legit. The 3 problems there is, I don't know that any of those 3 teams can score with Baltimore if they get going. And that's why I like Kansas City, because Kansas City can change the way Baltimore plays. Mahomes comes out, scores a couple quick touchdowns. All of a sudden, Baltimore's got to change what they do a little bit. Can Lamar Jackson do that?
I think the difference there would be this. When Kansas City starts scoring the way they do, other teams feel they have to do the exact same thing.
Yes.
We're going to get in a boat race, and that's where the problem shows up. Baltimore isn't a quick score kind of team. They're going to take their time. They milk the clock. They move up and down the field. Could that throw Kansas City off of their offensive pace, and could that benefit the Ravens?
How about the other side? I would have said San Francisco a couple of weeks ago. Right now, heading into the stretch, they were the 5 seed.
Yeah, I mean, not that San Francisco was a pretender, but I never thought San Francisco was as good as San Francisco is. It's always hard for me to pick against Seattle coming out of the NFC every year because they're a legitimate, complete team, and that defense looks like it's recovered from where it had stumbled a couple of years ago. I mean, we were talking about quarterbacks you would want on the line. Is there somebody better than Russell Wilson in the league right now when it comes to knowing what he does, having the physical ability to do it, and trusting the guys that are on his team? I like Seattle.
I like a guy who can do it almost as well as Russell Wilson, Drew Brees. I know he's 40, and I know I was talking about this last week when he set the record, that he's almost underrated career-wise. When you look at everything he's done and how well he continues to play, now they've got a very good defense in New Orleans. Kamara and Murray run the ball really well. I think they have a chance to go a long way if they can avoid the crazy ending that they've had the last couple of years in the playoffs.
That's interesting. You know, the NFL, because they're not like market dependent when you get to the Super Bowl like the World Series is, where you need ratings and all the rest of the stuff. I think the game that everyone would love to see would be Baltimore and Seattle. Putting those teams of the way they play the game together in the Super Bowl would just be wonderful.
I personally would like to see Buffalo play.
Yeah, Buffalo with Kenny Stabler as quarterback. That would be my pick,
With Ryan backing him up.
Jim Kelly just got mad at you, by the way.
We are the Rochester Press Box and presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Talking Bills next. The Press Box is brought to you in part by Bay & Goodman Pizza, a local Rochester favorite. Corner of North Winton and Browncroft, Bay & Goodman Pizza. Welcome back. This is the Rochester Press Box presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Talking Buffalo Bills. Geez, 2019 is the gift that just keeps on giving as far as this team goes.
Season of destiny, 100%. The way the schedule lined up, it's like they always say, the old chestnut, right? It's not who you play, it's when you play them. And the Bills have lucked out in the sense that the teams that they've gotten that might have been difficult teams, they've gotten them at the right time. You got the Titans with Mariota instead of Tannehill. They look like they might be different. You got the Steelers after everything went down the way that it did there. You got the Giants before they found their kind of identity, before they went back on the slide again. It's working out. And not only that, this team is growing every single week. You're seeing new things that the coaching staff is doing to combat what teams are doing to try and diffuse what's being successful. I don't know what it looks like next year when the schedule gets a little bit harder, but right now I'm really having a good time. I'm having fun.
Did anyone see this coming?
I certainly didn't. I predicted 6-10. I looked at this team. I looked at the offensive line. Mitch Morse, they paid a bunch of money to, and when healthy, had been very good. The rest of the Quentin Spain is a guy. You look at John Feliciano, just a guy. Guys that other teams didn't want to pay. They come to Buffalo, and they're solid. You know, and Secchi was good, and then he gets hurt. But Cody Ford has stepped up. It's amazing how well things have worked. John Brown, over 1,000 yards. Cole Beasley doing what a reasonable expectation of him was. And Allen taking the step. But it's all about the defense. And the defense continues to get better and better and better. And what's crazy about it is, when you look at this team, you look at how they're constituted, with Devin Singletary now being the primary back. I said in the open, run the football, stop the run. Early on, they couldn't stop the run. Now they're doing that. They're running the ball. They've morphed as the season's gone along, and the defense is the reason why I think they can compete with anybody. You said Baltimore. Baltimore's the best team in the league. They can compete with Baltimore.
God, they believe in themselves. To your point about the schedule, you know, you take that first game of the Jets, which they very well could have lost, and it was like then Miami, and you know, through the first half of the season, I thought Buffalo's best win was the loss to New England, and that gave them some momentum and began to believe in themselves. And this whole thing is snowballed until they get the 2 primetime games where everyone's talking about, oh, no one has seen this team, they don't know anything about them, and they shine at Dallas and they shine at Pittsburgh. They're both on the road, and like. Again, it's a gift that just keeps on giving.
Yeah, and I mean, you're getting contributions, too, from people that you don't expect on a weekly basis. Duke Williams shows up for 2 games, catches a game-winning touchdown pass in Tennessee. He hasn't been active, since the game after that. Tyler Kroft catches the touchdown that seals your NFL playoff berth. By the way, quick side question. If Tyler Kroft's only touchdown catch of his Bills' career is that catch in Pittsburgh, was that monster contract they signed him to worth it?
Wall of Fame.
Okay, glad we're all on the same page here. But I mean, think about it. Like every single week, there's somebody else where you're like, I forgot that guy was here. But all of a sudden, Dawson Knox, for God's sakes, was the best tight end on this team for 6 weeks in the middle of the season when you needed him to be. I don't know if it's complete luck the way it's all working out, or if it's this coaching staff able to coach up who they need to on a weekly basis. But again, I'm having a great time.
I think we all are. it really has been enjoyable. I think at the end of the year, that's the thing you got to remember is how much fun this has been. We have the Rochester Press Box presented by the Genesee Brew House. Like it or not, is next. Here's the Press Box trivia question brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Here's the Press Box trivia answer brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. We're the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House. I'm imagining, Pat, that this thing's been discussed to death on your show. And we're a little late to the party here, but like it or not, the Peloton wife.
All right, so if you're unfamiliar with the Peloton commercial, you guys know it's a really high-end bicycle, like stationary bike that I can't afford, and a guy gets it for his wife.
It's like $2,500.
Like that's the base level. You can finance it. We looked it up online. But he gets his wife this Peloton for Christmas. He gets her an exercise bike for Christmas, and she like documents herself like on the phone while
First
doing
ride.
it. Yeah, okay. All right. One, what are you doing, you idiot, getting your wife exercise equipment for Christmas? That's the stupidest thing you could do. Two, like she's like surprised and scared about a stationary bike. It doesn't go anywhere. You're not going to fall off it. You get on the bike and you ride it. And like how they thought this was going to be a good idea. The funniest part of this whole thing is like, we laugh at this. There are people that are seriously upset to the point where the guy who played the husband in the commercial is now getting death threats online, right? Like the commercial is stupid, yet there are also people stupid enough to not realize this was not a real thing that happened. I'm loving it.
What do you think?
I thought it was a great ad because, look, we're talking about it a month later. Look, know what your wife wants. What if she says, I'd love one of those bikes?
Yeah, I'm not stupid. I'm not doing that.
it.
No, what are you, nuts?
If she wants one,
Yeah, and what happens? What happens 3 weeks in when she's like, oh.
Some foolish people like working out. I'm not one of them, clearly. But, I mean, if somebody wants it, I would never do that. But if that's what they want, you're not going to get your wife what you want?
I had seen it.
I have been married for 10 years. I've never once gotten her what she wanted, including
Clearly.
the husband.
And that's working for you. That's good.
Stay hot.
I saw when I first saw it, the commercial had no impact on me when I first saw it. When the whole thing started, and I looked at it, I says, I still don't see what the problem is here.
Well,
but the real plus is that this woman now is making out like a bandit.
Yeah, she was on another commercial, a liquor commercial with the girlfriends, and no ring on, playing the soon divorced woman. And
like it or not, football in Las Vegas, the future of the NFL in Vegas.
love football in Las Vegas, hate that they ripped another team out of a city that supported a team for years and years and years. Football in Vegas makes sense. Everything in Vegas works, obviously. The Super Bowl will be there. The Pro Bowl is going to be there. People like Duffy, as Bills play there, you're not going?
Oh, I'm going to Vegas. We're going to take our Peloton out there.
It doesn't move. We'll talk after the show. But it makes sense for the league to want a team there. But Oakland, again, getting a team ripped away. San Diego getting a team ripped away. You're going to lose fans eventually. If you bought season tickets for 20 years for the Raiders and now there's no team, how are you feeling today?
I don't like, no one does, moving teams. But this Oakland thing was always a cult issue to me. I never felt that was a particularly good football city.
Listen, I'm with you on that. Like any other team you're talking about, Carl, I agree with you 100%. But there's something about Oakland where, like, those fans, like Dallas, like if the Cowboys want to move out of Texas, right, people would freak the hell out. Mm-hmm. But there would still be Cowboys fans across the country, just like there will always be Raiders fans across the country. I don't think it hurts them that much. What I do find interesting is how the city of Las Vegas itself is going to support this team. Because I look at it like putting a team in Orlando. There's a reason why, other than the Magic, there haven't been any, professional sports teams down there. Because those people that work in Vegas work in Vegas. How dedicated will they be to that team? And can you rely on tourists coming every week?
In Vegas, you can.
Okay.
In Vegas, I think you can. Your point's valid. Nobody's from Vegas. Everyone moves to Vegas.
And yet I brought that up saying, it's not going to be a big home field advantage. And somebody just said, well, how do you explain how the hockey team did? And I said, I had no answer for that.
Yeah, no, that's a valid point. But I think hockey's a weird monster, too, where year by year you can craft this stuff, right? Like, there was something about a home field advantage to a football team that is far superior, maybe with the exception of a college basketball team, to any other sports venue around.
But it's a strange stadium setup, too. There's no parking. It's going to be hotel shuttle buses bringing people. So you're not tailgating. You're hanging out in the casino, getting your free drinks while you're losing at the slots. So then you go to the game. It's going to be a weird thing, but I think
got your whole
work.
weekend planned.
Yeah.
Where the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse Unfinished Business, is next. And now here's this week's MVP Experience Stat of the Week, brought to you by Sport Clips, where it's good to be a guy. No appointment ever needed.
Came now to Eichel. He floated one.
When Girl Scout ingenuity meets Dunkin' Coffee, you get a cup of can-do. Girl Scout cookie-inspired flavors are at Dunkin'. Try Thin Mints and Coconut Caramel today. And get a medium latte or cappuccino for $2 from 2 to 6 p.m. America runs on Dunkin'.
Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse Unfinished Business, brought to you by Dunkin'. America runs on Dunkin'. Pat.
I need to apologize. I need to apologize to the GM and head coach of the Buffalo Bills. Because 3 years ago, when all of this started and McDermott came in preaching culture and we're going to do it this way and we're going to have guys that care about each other, I laughed. I laughed really hard. And then that first season when they backed into the playoffs, but things were up and down all over the place, Nate Peterman playing quarterback in Los Angeles, San Diego, wherever they were, I laughed. And then last year, things took a step backwards as they were preparing for year 3, and I laughed because I believe the entire time that although culture sounds great, it takes guys with talent to win football games. It still takes guys with talent. But Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane are showing that you can win with less talent if you have a team that buys in. I didn't think it was possible to get grown men who make the money that these guys do and have sacrificed all of these things their entire life to get to this stage, like playing in the NFL, would buy into a program from a guy that played at William & Mary and had his first NFL coaching job. But somehow, some way, they did it. I mean, that's the difference every Sunday when you watch the Bills play, right? They're never the more talented team. They never have a guy that stands out on paper where you go, whoa, one single individual player. But somehow, most Sundays this season, they've come out on top. And it's because the players have subscribed to what the coach and GM are doing. I was wrong for now, and I'm sorry.
Whoa.
When you talk for 3 hours a day about sports, every now and then you try to find something different, unique. We could talk about the Bills and culture every day, but you go down a rabbit hole every now and then, you come up with something, and the other day I did. Bear with me. 2000 season, Tom Brady comes out of nowhere because Mo Lewis beat up then Drew Bledsoe. The Rams were the greatest show on turf, and the Super Bowl happens, and some guy Brady, in spite of Brady, because of a great defense, wins the Super Bowl. 2005, Pittsburgh Steelers, great defense. But the Indianapolis Colts with Harrison and Manning and Edgerrin James, they were the team. Somehow, a guy named Ben Roethlisberger, in his second year, Brady was in his second year also, wins the Super Bowl. 2013, the Seattle Seahawks with Russell Wilson in his second year in a great defense. Out of nowhere, beat then Peyton Manning of the Broncos in 55 touchdowns. So every year there's a great team, Baltimore Ravens this year, a second-year quarterback, and a great defense. Josh Allen, Bills defense. Just saying the Bills win the Super Bowl.
I never really wanted to be a high jumper. You know, not that that was ever going to be an issue with me, but think about it. High jumper is set up to fail. You clear a height, they move it up. You clear the height, they move it up. They keep moving it up until you can't clear the height, and you wind up always missing your last jump and going away feeling terrible. Well, it's kind of like that for football fans. The Buffalo Bills, for example. So they open up the season, they beat the New York Jets. All right, they clear a hurdle. They said, hey, you know what? We can get off to a good start. They beat Miami, have cleared a hurdle. They play well against New England. Keep going. And somebody says, you know, this team could finish 500, not 6-10 like Carl said. Clear another hurdle. All of a sudden, you're looking pretty good, and you're thinking, geez, you know what? We might make the playoffs. They make the playoffs. You've cleared another hurdle. Well, it keeps going. This is, we could beat New England this week. Clear a hurdle. We beat the AFC East. We could get a bye in the first round. We could get a home playoff game. You keep setting the bar up higher till you can't clear it. We can win 3 playoff games. Well, we're in the Super Bowl. We might as well win that too. Relax. I think the people that really had good perspective on this were all those folks that showed up at the airport to greet the Buffalo Bills when they clinched the playoffs with the win in Pittsburgh, because they were there just to say thank you for the most enjoyable football season I think and we've seen in these parts in decades. Unfinished Business, presented by Duncan. America runs on Duncan. Carl, thank you. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
We're apologizing for the coaching staff. That's big of you.
We were riding a high. Like I was saying they were right.
Well,
They
still
were in the
was.
Super Bowl. You're like, hey, you woke up today, so Bill probably are going to win the Super Bowl. It's fine.
It's a more realistic approach.
Somebody hits their last jump. Why not us?
Yeah, but only one, and it's usually New England.
Oh, there it is.
Fair enough.
Thank you for joining us. See you next week for the Rochester Press Box.